Okay, so welcome everybody. Thanks for being here today. This is the first of two community meetings for our UCF STAIR, which stands for Smart and Trustworthy Air Quality Network. We're doing two community meetings to first update you all on our air quality sensor network and our project, and then to tell you about an opportunity to participate in a advocacy planning and how to spend a $10,000 funding that we have that we will provide based on how the community chooses to spend it for education, awareness, and advocacy using data from our air quality sensor network. Tom is going to talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the meeting, but first we want to provide a few updates on our network. Some of you have heard of our sensor network before, some of you might not have heard it at all, so we'll go through some quick background information on that. Haofei, the PI on this project, will next talk about some air quality trends that we've seen in our network so far. And then Tom Breyer will be talking about the community meeting and the $10,000 funding that we want for you to collaboratively plan how to spend. And that meeting will be happening in person next Monday at UCF downtown. And so if you haven't seen how to sign up for that yet, we'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the meeting as well. We also have Wanda Parker here from the Orange County Environmental Protection Division, who wants to talk a little bit more about the air quality monitoring that they do, and they handle the regulatory, more expensive, higher quality equipment, equipment, and so she will be talking a little bit about their monitoring work and trends that they've seen. Then we plan to have about 15 minutes at the end of this meeting for some question and answers from you about our network, the trends that we're seeing, or any questions you might have about the upcoming community meeting. Again, we are recording this right now, and we would appreciate if you stay muted until we get to the end with our questions and answers. Okay, so with that, let's get started. So first, this is a National Science Foundation grant that UCF has been awarded to conduct this work, to set up this low-cost air quality sensor network in the Orlando and Central Florida area in close collaboration with the community. We have many students who have worked on this project. Hasibul is one of our students who is here now, as well as Elchin Kazimov, who is a PhD student in public affairs at UCF. We also have worked closely with the city of Orlando. We have several names there. We want to thank for their collaboration on this project and their input, as well as Orange County Environmental Protection Division. There's many people from OCEPD we've been working with on this, and we appreciate their close collaboration as well. We have a lot of organizations and citizens who have helped finding places to host our sensors in the community, or finding organizations to host a sensor, or helping to spread the word about our network, or hosting a meeting and allowing us to come and talk about our network. So we want to thank all our community partners for this as well, and several others who have provided some input and guidance to this project. So thank you, everybody. Next slide. In this project, we've set up low-cost air quality sensors that are cyber secure. So that means it is difficult to impossible to hack into them to manipulate any of the data that the sensors are collecting and reporting back to the public. The sensors that we have measure fine particulate matter, and Haofei will talk a little bit more about PM and particulate matter in a moment, but that is what our sensor network is collecting data on. Right now, we have 63 sensors set up in the Orlando and Central Florida area. Most of those are in downtown Orlando. Most of those are on residential properties, as well as a few organizations and churches that have hosted a sensor on their property. And the city of Orlando is hosting about 13 sensors on city property as well at a community center. So we have a nice distribution for our network. We'll show a map of that in a moment. Over mostly the last 6 months or so, we've made some upgrades to the equipment, to the software, to the hardware, to the solar panels. And so you might have seen Haofei and some others out at your property, if you're hosting a sensor, making some of these equipment swaps. And right now we have a network that's working very well. And we've learned some things along the way about how to set up this network and made some improvements. But that's we have a well operating sensor network right now. And we're just about finished with the sensor calibration, which again, Haofei can talk about in a moment. Okay, Haofei, turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Kelly, for the introduction. So I took over here from here and talked briefly about the background and what we have learned so far. So as Kelly mentioned, our network measures PM 2.5 because fine particulate matter, or anything that's suspended in the air that has a diameter about 2.5 microns. So if you're not familiar with the measurement, micron is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. So we have a comparison figure here from Visual Catalyst. Now, this figure will give you quite a good visual illustration of how small is PM 2.5. So human hair on average is around 5180 microns, and that's pretty thin already. But if you go smaller, if you see a grain of salt that's around 60 microns, if you go to even smaller, red blood cell is 7 to 8 microns, and we are PM 2.5. We're talking about the particles that's 2.5 microns or even smaller. It's right here. So it's much smaller than the width of human hair. The reason we would care about PM 2.5 is because they are teeny and they can suspend it in the air for a very long time. And if you inhale them, let's say go through your nose, your mouth, get inhaled into your lungs, and it's because they're so teeny, they're quite nimble. They escape from your body's mechanisms of defending them, and they got stuck inside your body, and they cause different health impacts. PM 2.5 is one of the most the pollutants that are responsible for the most health impacts worldwide. So since we have been working on this project for several years, for over 2 years now, and you might see some of the sensors. So here is just some of the example of the sensors. On the left side is the sensor here is on the bathhouse in Mead Botanical Garden, and in the middle this is the sensor at Broadway Methodist Church. It's on the back side of the church. You might also see the a sign here basically shows what's here. And this is the sensor we installed on one homeowner's property. And we work with each homeowner individually. If we cannot identify a good location to install sensors, and we install our own poles if needed. So as Kelly mentioned, right now we have 63 installed around Orlando. And in the past half year or so, we have been also doing calibration. The reason we do this is because these sensors are low-cost sensors. Wanda Parker is going to talk about some of the efforts conducted by Orange County Environmental Protection Division. Their equipment by regulation is quite expensive because you need them to be very accurate. And the equipment we're having is relatively low cost. That's why we're able to install in large quantity. But the problem is they don't perform as well. So, but we want to be able to improve their accuracy. So what we do is as you can see here, this is our mobile lab. We towed the mobile lab to different locations. So we have over 14 locations we've done already across Orlando. And we tow it, and we're operating some reference equipment inside the mobile lab. And we run it for about 24 hours, and we come back and tow it away the next day. So by doing this, we can compare the readings from those good equipment, like really accurate equipment, versus the reading from our local sensors. We want to be able to identify how the sensor performs and how can we design algorithms to basically to correct their readings to improve their accuracy. So currently we have 63, and most of them, this is a brief map showing zoomed in on the downtown region, showing some of the sensor nodes. The sensors you can see it's mostly clustered in downtown. The green circles are at residential addresses, is homeowners. And we have this triangles is at different community centers owned by the city. Also, the stars is a regulatory monitor operated by OCEPD. We do have many organizations that help us along the way, help us with recruiting and outreaching. We do very much appreciate for their help. Now, if you're interested in look at the data of sensor, you can go to this website. This is stairnetwork.org, which we're going to briefly show you. This website shows you the near real-time reading of our sensors. I say near real-time because sometimes the reading can be late by about 10 minutes. We do this is because we try to save some It's quite expensive to operate this network. We're trying to reduce the cost by sending a bunch of data together, not really basically sending it all together like every second or so. Now, we also have a project website. This website shows you the background of project, who is involved, and a bunch of different other materials. Now, I'm going to briefly show you what our website looks like. Now, if you actually go to stairnetwork.org, this is what you will see. And here is basically shows you all the readings of the different sensors. And for example, we see right now you can see the most of the readings is in this area is relatively clean, but we do see this place has reading a little bit high. This was updated a lot yesterday. So yeah, because likely this is because the solar panel is not getting enough sunlight, and we have to do something about that one. This one, for example, this one was updated about 8 minutes ago. If you click on legend, a circle, it will show you the position, the time, what time the last communication with it, and you will see 3 readings. PM 2.5 is particles with 2.5 micron or less. PM 10 is particles 10 micron or less. It also shows you the hourly average from last hour, the previous hour, and from previous 24-hour averages. So it also tells you the temperature, humidity measured as of this time at this location. Now, what you also can do is click on the view data history, and here it will tell you in the past 7. By default, it gave you 7 days. You can change it if you want. It tells you the history, what it looks like in the past 7 days. So you can see you do see this particle readings to go ups and downs. And one interesting thing is here you see you can drag and zoom in a little bit if you want to. So here you see you have a very brief peak around 26 at 9 p.m. This is quite interesting. And many activities can actually lead to a sudden peak. So for example, if your neighbor is barbecuing and the barbecue plume happen to pass by, it will cause a sudden peak. This thing is quite sensitive. Now, if you're wondering, the unit is actually of reading is actually microgram per cubic meter of air. So microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. If you're wondering, for example, if you take a penny, if you feel a penny on your hand, that penny is about 2.5 million micrograms. So if you think about it, we are talking about something that's in the millions range of weight of a penny. A grain of salt is hundreds, maybe around hundreds micrograms. So it's super, super teeny. That tell you how sensitive this sensor is. Similarly, you can go back to the map and you can click on others. For example, here, you can take a look at others, whichever you want to. The data you see is the data we see. So we didn't redact any data. This is all we have. So, all right, I want to go back to the slides here. So again, if you're interested, you can take a look at the stairnetwork.org, and it display all the data we have. This is the project website. And if you scan this QR code, it takes you to the website. You may wonder what the different colors representing over there. So the circles have different colors. And the green color is the colors are colored according to this thing called air quality index. So generally, if it's in green, it tells you this is satisfactory level, it's really clean. But if you go down, if it goes to darker, for example, yellow, that meaning well, it's moderate. Generally at this level, you may have someone that's unusually sensitive, that someone is hypersensitive to dust. They may experience some sort of symptom, but generally the vast majority of the population, they are fine. If you go down, you see orange. This is a little bit unhealthy for sensitive groups. And if you further go down, the red unhealthy, it's also for sensitive groups. Go down to purple, it's very unhealthy. Basically, you start to see risk of health impact of everybody. If you go down to the worst, this is maroon, it's basically everyone is likely to be impacted. Now, generally, you see that sometimes you see in some locations, you see a very brief peak of this different colors other than green. But if you actually look at the long term, this is the data we have been collecting the past year or so. you see if we take, what we do is we average the particle concentration to every hour, and then we average all the hourly concentration together. This is what we got. So generally in this region, what we see is here the air quality is pretty good with regard to particles. So we see the green circles everywhere if you look at average hourly concentrations. Well, this tells us that air quality is really good. We actually were surprised by this. We were anticipating maybe a slightly elevated concentration near major roads, but this is not what we see. But if you look at short term, for example, if you look at the highest hourly average particle concentrations, we start to see some higher values. In some location, many locations, its value is even hardest. And by the way, all these hourly concentrations, you can see that we saw them in during fireworks. We're talking about July the 4th fireworks and New Year's Eve fireworks. So at this very brief moment, if someone set up a large amount of fireworks near this location, you will see a quickly deteriorated air quality. Again, this is a short-term event because of fireworks. We also did some analysis. We look at the average pollution concentration every hour, averaged every hour across 7 neighborhoods. These 7 neighborhoods we selected this has at least 3 or more sensors installed in the community. We averaged all the data. Now, generally, you do see that different neighborhoods they have a different level of pollutions. And we do see a slightly peak, for example, in the afternoon, morning and afternoon rush hours, and particle pollution level is relatively higher at night. And I want to mention that this does not mean that, look, if you look at Inglewood Park, you will say, well, look, Inglewood Park has relatively higher pollution, but it's all relative. Now, if we put on the EPA standard, 24-hour standard, you will see it's really high, really low, actually. So I do want to mention this is actually not strictly technically sound comparison, because how the numbers were calculated is quite different. Because if you want to calculate 24-hour standard particle concentrations, it has a strict protocol you have to follow, which we do not follow here because we're not using the reference grid equipment. But the message here is that we do observe a different level of pollution among different communities. But compared to regulatory standards, the concentration level is relatively low. Again, so we do see some high concentration, but it's fireworks. And we want to quickly show you, this is one of the firework events we saw during New Year's Day fireworks. This was a screenshot of the website, very briefly. You can tell at some locations you see the air quality is relatively clean because you don't have a lot of fireworks set by right next to it. But in many locations you see that the pollution level goes a lot higher. They do quickly come back to normal afterwards if nobody's setting up the fireworks. Our network will also pick up some very interesting phenomena. So for example, this is the phenomenon Kelly saw a few days ago, only a few days ago. So what we see is that there is a fire nearby, and the fire plume is actually passing by Orlando. Our network would be able to, or is able to pick it up. For example, this is around 5:30 p.m. You start to see on the right side of the area, you see some sensor picking up high concentrations. And you see around 6:30, you start to see the pollution start to move into the left. And at 7, you see a little bit tail left here, 7:30 p.m. And Kelly went back and we were able to identify from a satellite image, we were able to identify a fire source nearby. This is what you see is a fire, plume from a fire. It has a lot of particles passing through the area. And we were able to correlate also based on surface wind and basically what we see over the sky. And this was the image taken at Oviedo. In addition to this, we also captured other events. For example, right after Hurricane Ian passed by, there are some mosquito spraying events using aircraft nearby. And we saw that when the aircraft is doing mosquito sprays, we can see in almost near real time, you can see the particle concentration increase slightly in those areas when it's undergoing the mosquito spray. So the primary findings from the data we have been gathered over a past year, we have over 8 million data points, is that overall the particle concentration is quite low in this region. And we even see this even close to major roads, such as, if you have a 408 and I-4, we do not see substantially elevated particle concentrations. We do see high pollution events, but those are mostly restricted to fireworks events and the smokes and mosquito spraying, so relatively short-term events. Just want to quickly mention that we are using low-cost sensors. This is the reason we were able to install so many, because the reference equipment. Give you an example. The reference equipment we used, by regulatory settings, it frequently exceeds $20,000 per piece. And you have to have frequent maintenance. You have to have air-conditioned shelter and everything. Our sensor cost, eventually costs us a lot of money, but it's much, much, much less than $20-something thousand. But because they are low cost, they are able to pick up low concentrations, but they are not as accurate. That's normally expected. I just want to quickly show you here that we do see some behaviors of local sensors. That's the reason that on the website you see 3 readings instead of 1, because we know from the beginning we cannot fully trust our readings, so we put 3 inside 1 sensor. In this case, we can cross-compare the 3 sensor readings. And the reason we do this is because, for example, here, this is from 2022 in December. This is 3 sensors. You can see sensor 1 is the red line. Sometimes see this sudden peaks. And you don't see these peaks in 2 other sensors. This tells us that this sensor number 1 is misbehaving. Sometimes they just do this because they are relatively lower cost. But by comparing 3 sensors at the same time, we can exclude these data. And this is another extreme case. The below figure shows you, for example, you see the red and you see the blue, and this blue is sensor number 3, red sensor number 1. They misbehave frequently. This is just extreme case, but you do not see them misbehave like more than 1 misbehave at the same time. Again, we do this because we know this will happen, and we want to get the best data as good as possible. So, Tom, Dr. Brian, you want to take from here?
Absolutely, thank you so much. So all of the data that you just looked at and can investigate on your own on the website will lead us into our meeting next week in person at the UCF downtown campus. The meeting is scheduled for 5 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. We will start with a more or less of a soft start around 5 or at 5. You'll be able to come in, register that you're present. We'll have some snacks and some other food given the hour for you to enjoy, some drinks and so forth and so on. And we'll have some posters around the space for you to look at data from our network in a little bit more detail. And then promptly at 5:30, more or less, we'll bring everybody who's with us together into one room for a facilitated conversation about how to invest $10,000 using the data that we have, as well as any other information or ideas that you have related to air quality within the Orlando metropolitan area and city of Orlando very specifically. The money that we have has been in our budget from the National Science Foundation from the time we put the proposal in. This has been at the centerpiece in many ways of what we aim to do, not only to make available near real-time air quality data to you, but to provide you with the tools and the resources you need to use the data in order to affect some positive change in the community. There are some investment options that you might take on as a community. You can choose to use some or all of the money to educate all or part of the community, maybe folks in a particular neighborhood where you see there's a potentially a bigger challenge related to air quality, or everybody living within the city. as an alternative. That education can come in the form of print material, website, social media, anything else where your imagination takes you. Perhaps you'll want to invest some resources in advocacy, developing a plan to make some requests or suggestions with elected officials and others who work within government to improve air quality policies if you see a need for such a thing, given the data that we have available to us and that you now have access to on a near real-time basis. Perhaps you might want to invest some or all of the money in mitigation strategies. If there are particular neighborhoods or individuals within neighborhoods or across the city that might be more subject to harm given air quality at certain times of day or certain times of year. And do you want to provide support to those individuals who might, for instance, have some respiratory illnesses that make them more prone to harm? Or maybe there's something else that is not listed here where you would like to invest the money. It's your decision. That's the most important thing. Our job in the room will be to facilitate the conversation, make sure that everybody who is present has the opportunity to engage and to have their voice and their ideas heard in the process. But otherwise, our job is to be there as technical consultants. We're there to answer questions about the data, about the interpretation of the data, the meaning of the data. We'll have folks from Orange County with us as well, and they'll be available as a resource to answer any technical questions. Perhaps all of us collectively can think about the feasibility of accomplishing some objective using the money in the way that you think is desirable, and so forth and so on. So you have options, but the decision ultimately is your decision. As with most money that we get from any source where we get it, there are some rules and restrictions that might limit your imagination a little bit. For instance, you can't use the money to buy food or beverage for meetings. Even for the meeting that we're convening next week, we cannot use the National Science Foundation money through the grant to buy the food. We're still figuring out how to buy it, but rest assured, there will be food one way or another, and some drinks as well. Nothing alcoholic, sorry, but there will be drinks as well for folks to enjoy and make the meeting comfortable for everyone. So that's restriction number one, no food or beverage. Second, you can't use the money during or on behalf of any candidate for elected office or any ballot issue or initiative or referendum that might be on the ballot or trying to get on the ballot. So no electioneering, no campaign activity. The money must be spent by September 30th of this year. So there's a small window from the time, relatively small window from the conclusion of the meeting next week till the end of September, where the money has to be out the door and used in the way that you desire to use it. So a quick note on that. We won't be making any sub-grants to organizations. So if you have a neighborhood association or a nonprofit organization and you think that you would be a good steward of the resource, we won't be sub-granting it. You'll be telling us how you want to spend it, on what materials, on what consultants, on what supplies, whatever it is, we will spend it on your behalf. So we won't be sub-awarding to any organization. And the last spending rule is that the money, if you choose to use the name of the University of Central Florida or the logo of UCF or our STAIR logo, which you see displayed behind each of us on the Zoom screen, we do have to approve the use of the logo. So that's something that's beyond our control as a research team. That's where the folks at the university are particular, of course, as we all would be, to how our logos are used in the public domain. So those are the rules. So it's hopefully nothing too burdensome, hopefully nothing too restrictive. But again, the decision on how to use the money is your decision. We can go to the next slide. And so in preparation for the next meeting, there's something I would ask all of you to go back and consider. And that's to answer the question that's written on the screen. Looking at the data that we shared here today, as well as data that you can go and explore on the website on your own, and any other knowledge of air quality in the Orlando area that you have, where do you see opportunities for investment? That is the central question that will bring us all together next week. Do you see opportunity for investment in education activity, in advocacy, in mitigation, or something else, or some combination? Do you see the opportunity to invest in specific neighborhoods based on the data that are available, or citywide? So come prepared with your response to this question, and we'll give some time in that first 30 minutes between 5 and 5:30 p.m. For you to walk around, look at some posters of the data, ask us some questions, and we will. And again, we'll start at 5:30, really diving into this, hearing what your ideas are, so that by the end of the evening at 7:30 p.m. We will have, at the very least, broad parameters of what you want to do and how you want to spend the money. We won't be signing any contracts or agreements or anything of that sort, but we'll have the broad parameters identified, and then we'll continue to work with you in the months ahead before September 30th to execute the plan that you develop. So with that, I saw some chats come in to the screen here. Can you bring a community group representative that a participant belongs to, and can the community group get the use of the $10,000? So first, I encourage everybody to bring others. So if you know someone is interested in this topic and they have a perspective and they have ideas, we don't have unlimited space, but we have sufficient space that we can bring more folks in. So this website you use to register for this meeting, I think it will still be an active registration website for folks to tell us that they're coming. So please do encourage folks to come in. As to the use of the $10,000, that's something that will be decided in the room with all the participants. So if there's an existing organization where the money might be useful for that organization in an advocacy campaign or a community organizing process or something like this, we'll have to look at the specific proposal that you have and how they might want to spend the money. Again, we won't be sub-granting to any organization, but if there's a particular material, good, product, service that where the money needs to be spent, then we'll execute that plan on behalf of the community. And parking will be comped as provided. So I don't know, Kelly, if you have that information readily available, but we'll follow up this meeting with another email with parking instructions. There is ample parking at the UCF downtown campus, particularly at this time of year now, where we'll be on the other side of graduation ceremonies, the semester's over. So lots of space for you to find a place to park. There is dedicated parking at the campus that will be paid for, so you don't have to spend. And there's also plenty of city-owned parking within the area as well, which you will have to pay for if you choose that. And so we can take other questions after we hear a brief presentation from Orange County. So let's move forward with that.
Yeah, so Wanda Parker is here from the Orange County Environmental Protection Division. She is the Regulatory Compliance Program Coordinator. Sorry. Wanda, are you ready to share your slides?
I am. And is it showing on the screen?
Yes, yep, can put it in presentation mode. Perfect.
Okay. As Kelly stated, and I apologize, my bandwidth is a little bit slow today, but as Kelly mentioned, I am the Regulatory Compliance Program Coordinator for Orange County. That is equal to the local air director for Orange County at the Environmental Protection Division's Air Quality Management Program. Within our program, we have 3 different sections: permitting, compliance, and enforcement. And then we have our ambient air monitoring section. Our program is an approved local program and operates under a specific operating agreement with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Our permitting team issues permits to sources of air pollution in Orange County. Our compliance team inspects facilities and audits compliance tests conducted by permitted and unpermitted facilities within Orange County. And then enforcement provides us the means of ensuring that those compliance requirements are met by those facilities within Orange County. Now, our ambient air monitoring section follows the DEP, or the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the Environmental Protection Agencies, or EPA's, regulations, policies, and procedures. The ambient air monitoring section within EPD currently has 4 ambient monitoring stations. 2 are neighborhood site scales. You can see them on this graph. That's the Winter Park site and the Skyview Plaza site. And then we have 2 near road sites. Currently, only 2 of these 4 are operational, and that would be the Winter Park site and the Skyview site. Our new near road sites are not currently operational. The ambient air team is comprised of 5 full-time staff that operate and maintain all the instruments. They collect and analyze all of the data, and they upload and report that data to DEP, which in turn uploads it and sends it to EPA. Here's a photo of our new neighborhood monitoring site at Winter Park. This is our largest site, and actually it's the largest site within the Central Florida area. And they monitor this site monitors for PM 2.5, 10, ozone, NOx, which is nitrogen oxide, and CO, as well as SO2. It's located at the Martin Luther King Jr. Park in Winter Park on Demings Drive, I believe it's Drive. But the site was moved within the park in the last quarter of 2022 to this current building. It was moved about 600 feet away. And that was due to construction at the Winter Park, at that Winter Park site. They put in a new civic center and library. This is our Skyview site, and it's located at 7697 South Orange Blossom in Orlando. It's located between a shopping plaza and a residential area. The Skyview monitoring station was replaced by our Weingard elementary site back in 2020. This site was moved within 2 miles of the Weingard elementary site, and by criteria, that's EPA's siting criteria, we had to relocate within 2 miles of the old site, and it took us a while to find a comparable site. But this is actually Orange County property, and you can see in the background there's a retention pond. But just to let you know that EPA's criteria for siting one of these monitoring sites is extremely strict. You can't be within 50 meters of any obstruction, meaning trees. And unfortunately, we did have to remove several trees just to put this monitoring site here. Here is a photo of our near road site, our I-4 site that's located off of Division. This is a site that was closed down due to the I-4 Ultimate project back in, I believe it was around 2016, 2017. We barely got that site up, and we had to close it down because of the construction and all of the all of the dust, the vibrations. The vibrations from the construction was actually damaging our equipment. But this site will hopefully be operable by December of this year. And then we have another site that we're constructing, and that's at President's Drive, and that's near the Turnpike. That one hopefully will be operable by March of 2024. Now, both of these sites will be monitoring for PM 2.5, NO2, and CO. The photo on the right of the interior it shows all of the equipment that's currently being used at our Winter Park site. Now, this is a photo from our old Winter Park monitoring station. Our current one inside is not as photogenic because we had some damage due to Hurricane Ian. However, it looks very similar to this. And Dr. Yu mentioned that our monitoring equipment is relatively more expensive than the current sensors that they're using. It can cost, one of these instruments can cost anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. And we have not just that equipment, but we also have to purchase backup equipment because our equipment does go down at times. And under the regulations, we have to have equipment there, or sometimes we borrow equipment from other DEP sites in order to collect that data. Because like I said, under the Clean Air Act and our regulations, we have to have so much data collected within a certain amount of time. And a lot of this, Dr. Yu went over as well, but under the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or NAAQS, the NAAQS are set up under the Clean Air Act, and they're codified in 40 CFR Part 50, but the primary standards protect human health. And then the secondary are protective of human welfare, meaning the environment, basically, or visibility, or things that you can go out and do, outside, those types of things. Now, each of the NAAQS is reviewed, or each of these criteria pollutants. Now, for us at our Winter Park site, we monitor for 5 of the 6 criteria pollutants. We do not monitor for lead. In Orange County, we do not have a lead source here. The closest one would be Hillsborough County. Each of the NAAQS is reviewed by EPA every 5 years, where the administrator of EPA will decide to keep it, lower it, or raise it. Now, for ozone and PM, they were both reviewed in 2020, and EPA decided to retain the standards without any revisions. But I'll let you know that they're currently looking at PM 2.5 again, and they're looking at raising that, or lowering that standard. Anywhere, I think, a range between 10 and 12. So this is other than PM, and I know that for the sensors that the STAIR program or project is mainly looking at PM. The other criteria pollutant that we look at is ozone. And for ozone, there are several stations located within the Central Florida area. We have 2, one at Winter Park, one at Skyview. The other 3 are located in Seminole Lake and Osceola, and those are operated by DEP. We meaning both Orange County and DEP work under the same guidance and procedures we work under the same procedures as DEP for consistency across the state. Now, we provide our data to DEP, and DEP in turn provides it to EPA. we all work under the same, meaning us. There are 8 other local programs within the state. They're all located in metropolitan areas like Miami-Dade, Hillsborough, Jacksonville, Pinellas County, and we all work under DEP SOPs, or standard operating procedures. These SOPs are reviewed by DEP and EPA, and ours are specific to our equipment as well as our exact situation, because we wouldn't necessarily have a SOP that is the same as maybe Jacksonville or Miami-Dade, because we're Central Florida and our humidity, the meteorological conditions are different than even within the state than what theirs are. Our program is audited by both DEP and EPA on a regular basis. Now here's an example of the ozone AQI, and Dr. Yu briefly went over this as well. And the AQI is the air quality index, which is basically a simplified number for the public to understand the air quality for that specific day. It's not the actual concentration value. Now, Orlando's core-based statistical area is made up of 4 counties. That's going to be Volusia, Seminole, Osceola, and Orange County. And as you can see for 2021, and this basically mirrors our 2022 data as well. That has just recently been verified by the data that we sent to EPA. And there were no days of unhealthy or sensitive group, or there were no days of unhealthy or sensitive groups for any of those days. But as you can see, for Los Angeles for 2021, they had several unhealthy days, as well as some moderate days. We actually didn't have any for 2021. And that's just a comparison to show, what our AQI is compared to another state. And here are some links that are available for our whole program, but the one at the top, you can get vast information as far as air quality management or the AQI, and you can pull those links off. And we do, I think Dr. Yu mentioned this as well, but Air Now, if you download that app on your phone, you can find out, what the air quality is at any point in time. So I thank you for the opportunity. And and then just to go back to what Kelly was saying, we didn't have as much opportunity to be involved with the sensor program. We had talked initially about co-locating some of the sensors at our Winter Park site. That's the only site that does do PM. However, with the move, we weren't able to do it in the timeframes that were needed for Dr. Yu, but we have been collaborating throughout this project.
Thank you, Wanda. So I appreciate again everyone being here. We have about 11 minutes left for some questions and answers. I'm going to end the recording right now. I want to let you all know that we are